Anna Quinlan has graciously agreed to deliver today's commencement address. Podium is yours.
Thank you so much, President Cooper. I am honored to be today, along with so many of you, a graduate of Springfield College. Commencement speeches are hard to write, even at a moment when the country doesn't seem to be going through a civic nervous breakdown. After all, none of you are here to hear me. Everyone in this audience is here for the sake of a few words. The name of someone they love, or their own name, a great signifier in the continuum of life. It's almost the only thing I remember from my own commencement, even though the legendary anthropologist Margaret Mead was the commencement speaker. I remember these words, Anna Marie Quinlan, and the look on my father's face as they were uttered. So I know from experience that it's tempting on this particular day to think yourself done. The papers have been written, the tests taken, the grades tabulated. Your diploma will prove it, an imprimatur on hard work and a deep dive into some discipline. Today, you're finished, right? No. If you are somehow done today with learning, with reading, with growing, with self-examination, then you will have done an enormous disservice to this place and, more important, to yourself. I understand the temptation, the thirst for a checklist to give shape to the present and the future. College? Done. Job? Done. House, spouse, children? Done, done, done. But that's not really how it works. The job may not last or may not satisfy. The person with whom you share your life will be different year 25 than year 5. I can tell you as someone who has been married for 4 decades. And if you think your children are going to stay the same, toddler to teenager, boy, do I have news for you. For those of you going into health sciences, think of how the landscape has changed just over the last 50 years, when hip replacements were rare and wellness was a non-existent idea. In sports, the focus might once have been solely on men and boys. You won't make that mistake. And in arts and sciences, someone might once have asked what you plan to do with an English major. Actually, they might still do so, even all those years after I graduated as one, when not long ago I read that the CEO of one of America's great tech companies prefers English majors because they have writing and communication skills that are invaluable. There are, after all, in this audience this morning, people who grew up with the understanding that a telephone had a cord and that it lived permanently on the kitchen wall. My point by saying that isn't to enshrine the good old days, which weren't so good for lots of us. The point is that the world is changing ever faster, as you know, and we all need to change with it. That's often couched as a challenge, when in fact it's a gift. The part of us that is weak and needy and fearful seeks what we call closure, unshakable ground beneath our feet. We slavishly seek to lock down the facts of our lives because we're afraid. Caution is nothing but fear dressed up as common sense. Coloring books have come back into vogue for adults because there's nothing quite so soothing as coloring inside the lines. The road less traveled? Popular poem, unpopular life choice. The well-trod road seems so much safer. But I can tell you today absolutely that the most terrifying changes I made in my life, and the ones that other people saw as most foolhardy, are the ones that brought me greatest rewards. Because of some strange little voice within myself, I zigged when I was expected to zag. I traded more good jobs than most people had ever had for new roles I thought were even scarier and chancier and potentially more satisfying. I took the ultimate flying leap and had 3 children in 5 years while my career was at its peak. I left the op-ed page of the New York Times to become a full-time novelist. Someone said that my decision showed that women are afraid of success. But I wasn't afraid of success. I was afraid of living a life that seemed more like a resume than an adventure story. You don't want that sort of life, so you can't let fear rule you for your own sake and for the sake of this nation. Fear is what has poisoned our culture, our communities, and our character. The very worst things in this country are done out of fear. Sexism, racism, homophobia, religious bigotry, the embrace of despots and demagogues, they all arise out of fear. Our political leaders don't actually lead when they're afraid of being thrown out of office. Our corporations resist innovation because they're afraid of taking a chance. In my former business, the news business, fear is the greatest of enemies. Without fear or favor, journalism has to provide readers, listeners, and viewers with stories, even if those are stories the powerful do not want you to hear or believe and do not want us to publish or disseminate, even if they are stories that offend, enrage, and distress the very readers we are duty-bound to inform. To want to feel sure, finished, done, is not only born of fear, it's an illusion. Change is the only constant, and the checklist should be honored mostly in the breach. I mean, what are the public names you recall sitting there of those people who did exactly what was considered the right thing, who followed the template? You can't come up with one of them, because the people we know, the people we admire, are deviants in the best sense of that word. Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Jane Austen, Frank Lloyd Wright, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Marie Curie, Toni Morrison, they all threw out the checklist and snapped their fingers at business as usual. Now, as a mother, I know that your family members may love the certainty of that checklist. They may think that's the first step in having you do better than they did. But maybe all of you will redefine what doing better means. If you are people who see race and ethnicity, sexual orientation, and gender identification as attributes, not stereotypes, you will have done better than my generation did. If those of you who are male recognize in every way that those of us who are female are capable, equal, and human and live that in the way you behave, you will have done better than my generation did. And on a more personal level, if you as a group ditch what has somehow become the 80-hour work week and return us to a sane investment in our professional lives, you will have done better than my generation did. We've worked hard to pass on to our children a better world, but we sometimes made a grave error in thinking that doing better is mathematical when it's really spiritual. Maybe I'm preaching to the converted when I say this at a Springfield College commencement. Your president says that one of the best parts of her job is that you are good people. After all, this is a place that from the very beginning has emphasized not a course of study, but a way of living, not a curriculum, but a whole person. Data tells us that, know it or not, it was also a place that forced all of you to major in happiness. When he was first beginning his career as a psychologist, Peter Salovey, who's now the president of Yale, did experiments on altruism, and this is what he found, that when people are happy, they're more likely to give to others. And conversely, that when people give to others, as you have, they feel happier. He called this effect feel good, and do good, feel good. In other words, his research found that it's not square footage or big bonuses or pharmaceuticals that will save us as a society. at a time when disaffection and depression seem to be ruling principles, his science tells us that if we do unto others, we will feel better about ourselves and the world around us. Do unto others has been a ruling principle at this college where, as you know, students perform so many hours of community service. But please, above all, don't consider yourselves done with that as you leave here. I hope that you all go out in the world and do well. But if you do not do good, doing well is not good enough. Instead of saying, I did community service in college, I hope you will someday be able to say instead, I started doing community service in college and I have been doing it ever since. Perhaps my favorite quote, and the one I evoke most often, is from the great writer Henry James. 3 things in human life are important. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. And the third is to be kind. If you do that, you will have done better than my generation, because we today have a world there are no papers and no exams, except the one you give yourself every day by searching your own heart. In that biggest of all tests, I wish you all A's. Thank you very much.